Hey, I'm glad you could join me for my adventures in trying to play Shaper. Now, I've been messing around with various StimHack Shaper builds. I don't think I have a video of this one actually, but I came up with a StimHack smoke deck where 3 of your 40 card deck is StimHack, which sounds really crazy, but you know, it's quite interesting. Yeah, and then more recently I did the video on the event-based Ayla, which uses 3 StimHack as well, to fetch all the breakers, which are 4 to 5 to install. So that's quite interesting and all, but I wanted to take it to the next level. Can you use StimHack to get stuff other than breakers out? So I was thinking of this really interesting combo where you still use StimHack into SMC because it's a really solid combo, but instead of fetching breakers, you fetch money. You fetch multi-threader, which is a card that gives you 2 credits per turn, and that seems pretty insane because you know, StimHack money is not something that you can keep in your bank. You play StimHack, you get temporary money, but it disappears after the run. However, if you can convert said temporary money into sustained economy that can last you for the rest of the game, I think that has a lot of potential to be powerful, and multi-threader allows you to do just that at a very cheap influence cost as well. You're paying 1 influence per StimHack, but also only 1 influence per multi-threader, so you have remaining influence to mess around with other cards, which is really cool. Right, so I think this basic combo is going to put in quite a bit of work, but this led me to consider other questions about the aspect of the deck. So if I'm using multi-threader, what sort of breakers am I using? Well, if we take the standard Shaper breaker suite, you know, breaking most ice using Ngolo, which is a good way, you know, your first breaker that you want to bring out typically is Ngolo so that you can start challenging remotes, and then Nanot K and Inti are there to back you up so that you don't have to pay that much money to convert stuff to code gates with Ngolo. But can you see the problem with this rig? The basic Ngolo Nanot K Inti rig already costs 4 memory. All your basic memory is taken up. Every additional multi-threader is going to be additional pressure on your memory that you need to solve. So this is going to be a very heavy setup intensive deck. We need to find the memory to hold those multi-threaders, and what better memory solution is there than Cyberdelia? It's not a console, so it has the distinct advantage of multiple duplicate copies not being dead. So we can play 3 copies of Cyberdelia and not have to worry about memory, knowing that each one will provide 1 memory. Even though it is pretty expensive for the 1 MU, we note that the money will pay back as long as we continuously run every turn to break ice, and that's really awesome because we already are doing that. With multi-threaders, we are encouraged to run every turn to use those multi-threader credits, and we get additional money of Cyberdelias. You can potentially get up to 3 credits per multi-threader Cyberdelia pair, so those extra credits will definitely start adding up. And then now we ask ourselves, if we're going to run every turn, how can we make the best of our runs? You know, getting single access is pretty mediocre at best. Why not throw in an equivocation as well? Seeing 2 cards on R&D instead of 1, a pretty good bonus in my opinion. So that's basically the basis of the deck. What about the rest of our cards? Well, I started thinking and my mind wandered over to Alex Borrell's Carbonessa Wu, which uses the Reaver Shop combo, and that's why I got the idea for the remaining money and draw engine. Because at the end of the day, even with Carbonessa's ability, you still need the money to install all those cards, which aren't cheap. You know, all the Cyberdelias, all the multi-threaders, where are you getting those money from? Well, Harbinger and Cash being pawn to pawn shop will help you with that. Every pawn to pawn shop is the 3 credits you need to install a multi-threader or a Cyberdelia. We also run modded in our deck so that we can install said cards for free. And then every time we trash a card each turn, we are going to get an extra card draw so that, you know, our deck sustains itself because of Reaver. So this is why I'm using this this engine here. It's a clickless engine, so once you have Aesop's and Reaver set up, you know, everything else just happens in the background because you need those extra clicks to install non-money cards, yeah, or should I say, you know, all your rig's backbone, your Cyberdelias, your multi-threaders, your breakers. That's a lot of clicks needed to install those cards, so having an econ engine and a draw engine that is passive works really well. So yeah, we are basically holding ourselves into Carbonessa Wu here. It's not a very strong ID outside of the fact that it can guarantee you a Reaver install on turn 1, but that's exactly what we are using it for. Because unlike the other cards, like Harbinger, Cash, multi-threader, stim hack, all of these cost 1 influence, so we can pepper our deck with them and not worry about influence. But Reaver costs a whopping 4 influence, so we can only play 1 copy of it, and we need to reliably get it out every game, which is where Carbonaceous comes in. Right, so this is the deck in general. I've already outlined most of the cards. You know, each one card leads to another. Every time I add a new card, I ask myself a new question about the deck, which, you know, leads me down to this deck being constructed as such, basically. So yeah, let's see whether this sustained pressure shaper, sustained stress shaper, can withstand the stress of a rush core deck. Okay, today we are up against Phantom's Nyx design deck. I've played against him a couple of times before, so I kind of know his deck. It has a lot of Nyx Ice and Surat City Grid and Marcus Batty to cause a lot of problems for the runner. Right, so we are going to keep our opening hand here. If you've watched my Reaver Shop discussion with Alex Borrow, you would know that Aesop's Pawn Shop makes any opening hand almost pretty much an auto keep. It's the one card you cannot fetch with Carbonaceous' Woo ability that is so crucial for your deck. So we keep this hand and we immediately get to work with installing the Reaver. Again, you would know this if you've watched the Reaver Shop video discussion. Yeah, you want the Reaver out so that in combination with Aesop's Pawn Shop, you're getting 3 credits and a card clicklessly every single turn. Harbinger as the opening card of choice is also amazing because it means that we get 2 Aesop's triggers and 2 Reaver's triggers right off the bat. So yeah, very good start for us. We have, you know, all 3 cards. We have Aesop's, we have Aesop's Fodder in Harbinger, and we also have Reaver, courtesy of Carbonaceous' ability. Now here I'm in an awkward situation where I start my turn with 3 credits and just drew a sure gamble off the Reaver. Most people will click for 2 credits and then play the gamble here. However, I know that by the start of the next turn I will have the 5 credits needed to play the sure gamble because I can sell the face down Harbinger. So I'd rather spend my turn doing other more productive stuff. Because clicking for credits twice is a very slow way to gain credits. The whole point of this deck is not having to click for credits at all because you have recurring credits from multi-threader, you know, refreshing credits from Cyberdelia and Aesop's obviously. So I don't want to click for credits too much, so I'm just going to install a bunch of cards instead. The concept here is with so many cards that you need to install with this deck, every early click should be spent on installing if possible. So that turn was SMC, Clone Chip, Beth all hit the table, and with nothing else to do on the last click, I take a credit. Then I pawn the Harbinger here and I realized I need to start the turn by clicking for a credit anyway to play the sure gamble. So yeah, either way I had to click for 2 credits because I just did not have the money to get to sure gamble threshold. A bit unfortunate there, but that's how it is. One possible play I could have made was to clone ship the cash so that I could get money to play sure gamble, but I did not have any cashes in my bin at the time. So yeah, can't be helped. In the meantime, we're completely ignoring our opponent's board state, completely ignoring the fact that they're scoring an SSL right in front of our faces. We really can't do anything about it. We are still in setup phase. We might be able to contest the remote if we had a stim hack in hand, which I just drew. The problem with the stim hack is you usually use it to fetch Ngolo with SMC. But the one Ngolo in our deck is stuck in our hand. Not being Haley Kaplan is causing us problems here. We cannot stim hack to install Ngolo. I would like to put the Ngolo in my bin so that I can stim hack to install it off clone chip. That works as well. But then we run into 2 other problems. Firstly, Arc Lockdown is a threat. And secondly, but more importantly, we don't have the memory for it. Reaver takes up 1 mem, and the other SMC on my table takes up 2 mem. So there's no space for the Ngolo unless I trash the SMC. Now, at this point, I'm not really interested in trashing my SMC. I want to leave it on the table because it could potentially fetch my Barrier Breaker, but it could also fetch something like a multi-threader. So with my final remaining click here, what do I do? Normally, I would just mod in the Ngolo, right? You just get the Ngolo down and done with so that I can run more aggressively the next turn onwards. But yeah, this is very awkward with the SMC on the table. It's not really possible. So this is my mistake, because I did not see the line of play where I could pop SMC for multi-threader. That's quite expensive. 2 credits for SMC and 3 credits for multi-threader. What I should have done here was to stim hack into HQ and pop the SMC for multi-threader, and then perhaps install something from the bin with my second clone chip. That would have been a much better use of my turn. The stim hack brain damage may have also sniped one of my breakers, allowing me to install it with clone chip as well. So that, you know, a lot of things I could have done that turn that would have worked out better. Instead, I just got a random HQ run for not much benefit, and now I'm still stuck with the Ngolo in my hand. Right? So yeah, anytime I draw a stim hack, I should, you know, use it to my maximum advantage, using the stim hack to get the multi-threader out, instead of just tunnel visioning into the fact that I need to get the Ngolo on the table ASAP. You see here, I'm frantically drawing for my console, or rather my memory. I'm looking for the Cyberdelias, but they're just not coming up. This deck runs 3 copies of Cyberdelia and 1 Astrolabe, so by the time we are halfway through our deck, we expect to draw 2 copies of our memory. I didn't even draw 1. I'm 25 or 45 cards through my deck, and I haven't found a single Cyberdelia or Astrolabe. So this is where I really start panicking, because that's the one card I need to slap on the table so that I can actually get my Ngolo in play. At this point, I'm filthy rich. My good money opening between having caches and ESOPs and clone chips available with Beth ticking means that I'm just swimming in running money right now, even richer than a corp that has just scored an SSL, which is amazing. But without breakers, I can't contest their remote, I can't get their agendas. That is bad, that is really bad. We are still in the setup phase. So this is where it's really, really awkward. I really wish I had access to Ngolo via SMC now, but I don't. So yeah, just looking at my hand, there's not really much I can do with it. Again, I should be using stim hack here, perhaps even on the MTHQ, just so that I can expand the SMC on the table, turn it from a 2 memory program into a 1 memory program that is like a multi-threader, so I can install the Ngolo after that. But yeah, I'm not doing that, so that's a big problem for me. I am quite misplaying this, forgive me for that. Instead, I use the SMC without the stim hack. I'm paying the full price for the multi-threader here, which I believe is a mistake. Right? You always want to leverage on stim hack credits whenever possible. Anyway, I finally find the memory for my Ngolo. Now the question is, with Ngolo out, I can start placing pressure, and no better place to place pressure on than R&D, because I have an indexing in hand and equivocation as well. Of course, I have no memory for the equivocation, so the question there really was, do I index and bank on it being a code gate, or do I run for a single access? In this case, I do, and I luckily fetch an agenda. Indexing would have gotten me the chance to run R&D twice there to see, to index and access, but I couldn't take the risk of the ice not being a code gate, right? Because I wouldn't be able to break it otherwise. Twice, right? If it's a non-code gate, I can get through exactly once by converting it into a code gate via Ngolo. So that's the difference there. And my opponent very, very smartly shores up R&D, knowing that being only 2 to break after that turn, Gatekeeper goes down to 0 strength. I would most certainly have indexed and, stole a bunch of agendas off R&D if they didn't double ice it. Right, so now I draw into all 3 copies of my stim hack, which is super awkward because I still haven't drawn the console that I was digging for. We are now almost 30 cards into our deck when we finally, at the 30th card, find the Cyberdelia. A bit too late, huh? I was forced to put a bunch of important cards in the bin, like my 3rd copy of stim hack, like my Nanot K, which gets swiftly arc-locked down by my opponent, as you're about to see here. Actually, no, they haven't arc-locked down it. I guess it's next turn. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Now that we have the Cyberdelia, we can finally slap that bad boy down and start making magic happen. Unfortunately, we spent most of our money, right? Between the R&D run and getting the multi-threader out, we are now down to 11 credits. We were once at 22. We now have 11. So, placing the Cyberdelia, as necessary as it was, is also very heartbreaking, because this is going to put us at a rather dangerous credit threshold, one where we really cannot threaten running any server at all. Right, so we go for an indexing here, and we hope that the 10 credits we have, 8 credits in my pool, 2 credits from multi-threader, will help me through the R&D. And now you see my opponent running their combo, the combo of this deck, rezzing Marcus Petty off the Surat grid so that they can get a chain of reses on the remote. The whole point of resing all the remote Nyx ice was to reduce the cost of the Nyx diamond on R&D. Nyx diamond is actually quite a pain to break with Nanot K. Fortunately, Ngolo matches it up at 6 strength pretty well, so it costs 7 credits for 1 run through diamond. We are going to get the indexing off here, however, we cannot rerun the server because we just don't have the money to break Nyx diamond again. Okay, off the indexing, we see two agendas that will actually win us the game. Sales team and SSL, that will bring us to 7 agenda points exactly. And then we see money card in IPO, trashable in advanced lines, and we have an ice in gatekeeper as well. Gatekeeper's the least of our worries now that Ngolo is out. Alright, pause the video here. Tell me how you would arrange indexing and how you would finish off this turn with your 3 remaining clicks. Alright, so after thinking about it, what would you have done? Now, obviously, we can't really rerun into R&D. Alright, we know we have Nanot K access in the bin. With clone chip Nanot K, that's possible, but it's still too expensive to break the next diamond. Because Nanot K will be at 3 strength, you need to pump it twice to get past the 6 strength of next diamond, and that's way too expensive even with a stim hack. Don't forget, Nanot K actually costs 4 to install, so that's half your stim hack burn already. Because of this, we are definitely not going into R&D again. Hence, we cannot put agendas on top of R&D. What I'm doing here is hoping that my opponent will not draw the cards of R&D. Instead, they'll spend the next turn scoring the agenda in the remote in server 1. Then, by leaving SSL and corporate sales team as the next 2 cards of R&D, I will be able to run R&D next turn and steal them both. Now, my opponent, instead of scoring the remote agenda, instead goes for an arc lockdown to deny my Nanot K, which is pretty annoying. But this opens up a wonderful line of play for us. Because our opponent did not draw through the agendas that I put on the 2nd and 3rd slot, they are now on the 1st and 2nd slot of R&D. If I can run R&D twice, I will win this game. Okay? And that doesn't look to be too difficult. Actually, there is a foolproof way I could outright win the game here. But I went with the risky way instead. So the safe way is to stim hack into R&D, fetch the sales team off the top, then run R&D again but let Nyx diamond fire, which my opponent will use to trash the Ngolo on my table. But that's fine because I can reinstall the Ngolo with clone chip and then break the innermost gatekeeper. So that would have been the safe line of play. Instead, I went with the super risky line of play where I get the equivocation down so that I can steal one agenda of R&D while sending the other agenda into my opponent's hand. This is riskier, obviously, because if I don't hit the sales team from HQ, my opponent can potentially jam it as their own agenda. Thankfully for me, on the very last click I fetched sales team from HQ, but that was unnecessarily risky. That was not a good play from me. Right, just to explain a bit more about that final turn there. So after I did the stim hack run on R&D to steal the topmost agenda on R&D, I had 11 credits remaining. 8 credits, that's the amount of money I started the turn with, plus 2 credits that should be on multi-threader. I did not need to use them during the stim hack run because it cost exactly 9 credits to get into R&D. 7 to break Nyx diamond with Ngolo, 2 credits to break gatekeeper with Ngolo. So 9 credits all covered by the stim hack. I shouldn't have liberated the multi-threader credits during the stim hack run. That was a mistake. That means that I would have more credits in my pool than I was supposed to, so that would have been an illegal board state, so be careful about that. I wasn't counting my credits properly. I also gained 1 extra credit from Cyberdelia because I successfully broke all the subroutines on Nyx diamond during the stim hack run. So I have 11 credits available to me, plus I would have an additional 2 more credits had I not installed the equivocation. Now, why am I bringing this up? That's because instead of using equivocation to equivocate the corporate sales team into HQ, what I could have done instead was to simply steal the CST from R&D. Then this SSL that I would have stolen otherwise would now still be the top card of R&D. It's the 3rd card, or it's the 2nd card on R&D, the 1st card being the sales team that I equivocated into the HQ. So I could have actually gotten into R&D again, simply rerunning the server without a stim hack at all. If you notice my hand here, all I need to do is to let this Nyx Diamond Fire. So I'll take 2 brain damage, which I could afford. I will also lose 1 card from my board. The subroutine allows the co-op to trash any of my cards, but no matter which card they trash, I will be able to get past the Gatekeeper. If they trash the Ngolo, which is probably the best card they can trash, I can always regenerate it with a clone chip. So I would be able to get the Ngolo back for 5 credits. And then I'll be able to break Gatekeeper for 2 credits. So I only needed 7 credits to make a second run through R&D and steal the winning agenda. So I could have done this the safe way by doing it the dangerous way, which was to equivocate the CST into hand and hope that I hit it during the last 2 HQ runs. Had I missed the CST, my opponent would have scored this agenda here, which they later revealed to be another CST. They would have done double advance on their turn, scoring the CST, and for the last click, they would surely put the CST that was in their hand into the remote. So I would have lost the CST, I would have lost access to it. This remote is nearly impossible to break without LAM, and I would not have been able to win the game because they would have 5 agenda points by scoring this CST here and the SSL here, and they would have the winning CST that I was supposed to steal now tucked very safely in the remote, which I would have to run twice at least to get it because, you know, there's a Marcus Betty there that probably ends the run. So all in all, I made an unnecessarily risky play here, and it just goes to show that, you know, I'm just not that good at Shaper. I really made a lot of mistakes throughout this game, whether it be playing the stim hack too late. I really should have used it earlier to get the multi-threader out, and, you know, just misplaying this final turn in the end. This was a very bad game for my opponent because they had a very poor draw. As Nyx design, they only got 1 ice installed at the start of the game, and they didn't draw enough early agendas to put the pressure on me. But yeah, even then, you know, what should have been a relatively easy game for me, you know, was made complicated by my incompetence. So that's very unfortunate. But one thing that we did manage to see this game was that the reverse shop economy engine is sure powerful. I was able to dig through my deck very quickly without even noticing. You know, it's very fast. All I have are 3 copies of Diesel and Reaver, but surprisingly, it just, you know, plows through your deck so quickly, alongside Beth Karain Chang as well. The money aspect was also really good. Being able to recur caches with clone chips and repeatedly trash harbingers meant that I was able to accumulate a lot of money with which I could use to drop those multi-threaders and cyberdelias. And the best part is I feel like this deck is actually a lot faster than the equivalent Sunny deck. Mostly because Sunny doesn't have access to stim hack into SMC. With that option available to me, I was able to capitalize and, you know, just get not only get my breakers on the board, but also get through servers, have enough money to get through servers. By the time, and also the other difference is that while Sunny doesn't really have Ngolo, Ngolo's a really amazing card that allows you to just get through ice regardless of what it may be. Sure, Sunny has Nexus, but if you are very poor while using Nexus, you're not going to get very far. And yeah, Sunny doesn't really have the Aesop's engine available to her either. We also saw how against most rush decks, your multi-threaders and cyber dealers just don't pay out that much. Even though these recurring credits are huge, you know, you're getting lots of money each turn, but you won't have enough turns. The game's going to end before multi-threader and cyber dealer can pay out as much as, say, a sure gamble. In this particular game, they both were only used once. So yeah, they didn't even pay for the install costs. So just something to keep in mind when you build a deck like this. Most of the time, you might not even get to use these late game cards. Against rush decks, you'll be banking more on your stim hacks and your Aesop's engine in general. Yeah, and it's very important not to forget that you still need to run good cards in order to win the game. Stim hack is an obvious one. You know, the burst economy is so crucial against fast decks, but the one I really want to highlight is the one-off indexing in my deck. You would think that just having equivocation is good enough in this deck for sustained R&D pressure, but the one-off indexing really helps seal the deal, allowing me to see 5 agenda points of R&D and then, you know, come up with a plan to steal all 5 points in the subsequent turn. So that was extremely important. I can't stress how much different the game would have gone had I not drawn indexing by that point. My opponent would have drawn those agendas instead, and they sure would have jammed in the remote the moment they could. So very tenuous and dubious play by me, but it somehow worked out in the end. It's a very fun deck, and I love this reverse shop engine. I might just give this sort of deck, more playthroughs in the future, because the 3 credits and a card passive gain every single turn just feels so good in this day and age where runners are so otherwise so poor. Right, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy net running, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.